We're going to reveal some new details about how some of the most important figures in the Biden administration were kept away from President Biden during the second half of his term. We spoke with 3 different cabinet secretaries who told us that Biden's inner circle shielded the president from them.
Catch loose.
I gotta go.
I know. Please tell me.
The cabinet secretaries were no longer even directly briefing the president in any regular way.
I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine. Alert, sound.
The presidency requires someone who can perform at 2 a.m. during an emergency. Cabinet secretaries in his own administration told us that by 2024, he could not be relied upon for this.
Our country has watched our president lead.
The president has no impairment.
The president is extremely effective in the meetings that I've been in with him.
For months, we didn't have access to him. There was clearly a deliberate strategy by the White House to have him meet with as few people as necessary.
I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day. Cover up is a very loaded term.
The cabinet was kept at bay, with few exceptions.
When was the last time you met with him in person?
I'm not going to comment on my meetings with the president. Those are private.
They shielded him in every meeting.
He is absolutely, that's
The third cabinet secretary told me they were shocked by how the president was acting. He seemed, quote, disoriented and, quote, out of it.
Anyone who was around Biden could tell that this guy's deteriorating right before our eyes.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
I speak with not only sincerity, but with a real firsthand account of watching him do this work. I have no reluctance in saying that.
Pete Buttigieg was asked, would Democrats be better off if Biden had not run? He said maybe.
First of all, I'm glad to have a president who can ride a bicycle.
Health or
President
cognitive
of the
decline,
United States
including
is
text
as
messages
vigorous a
from your
colleague
private
or
phone.
boss as I have
I
ever had the
figured this.
pleasure of working with.
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
I don't know how many ways I can say this.
Okay.
I have complete confidence in the president, and I reject your characterization.
We finally beat Medicare.
And incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the detail.
And to the Gila Indian River community, the Gila, nothing wrong with me.
Of the detail.
He is sharper than ever.
Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong.
I absolutely disagree with that. He's at the top of his game.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
It does not have to do, they have nothing to do with his health.
And yes, we've also seen the fact that he's 10 years older than he was 10 years ago.
The president of Mexico, Sisi.
Do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, not at all.
And they say I'm in good shape. Okay?
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you.
His age is his age, yes.
Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. The Chris Island Show. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. You're going to talk about this because this story is not going to go away. This is going to absolutely sink the Democrats for at least the midterms, if not well beyond that. This story is going to metastasize. It is going to become a giant cancerous tumor bigger than Joe Biden's prostate cancer. This is going to destroy, possibly forever, the Democrat Party. It may have to reform with a different name, with different leadership. But either way, this is the biggest scandal. Maybe it shouldn't be the biggest scandal, considering that we've had Russiagate, considering that we've had Joe Biden on the take, actually accepting money from foreign governments for influence peddling. Perhaps, we had them spying on the Trump campaign. We had them, basically organizing lawfare, using the administrative state and the establishment to try to destroy a presidential candidate. Maybe in light of all those, this shouldn't be the biggest political scandal, but it will be, because this is the one that the media is actually now forced to report on. They have not been able to bury it. And that's because Jake Tapper and Alex have written this book. Now, mind you, I have no respect for Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper was 100% in on the conspiracy. But Jake Tapper is a capitalist. Jake Tapper is a greedy individual. Jake Tapper is a grifter. And so when Trump won and Jake Tapper realized that the gig was up for most of it, he decided he was going to cash in. And he had the chips to cash in. And that's what this book is. Make no mistake, this was not Jake Tapper suddenly coming to a revelation. No, this was Jake Tapper knowing full on the entire time that Joe Biden was incapable of being president and covering it up. We've got the goods, we've got the receipts, and he's now making money off it. But as they say, God holds the heart of the king and he turns it whichever way he wants. God is sovereign. And I believe God is predestined that this story is going to come out. And he used Jake Tapper to do it. And so here we are with Jake Tapper peddling his book, running around, openly ripping open the wounds and the secrets of the Democrat Party. Now we know that they have covered up Joe Biden's declining cognition, his declining health for the better part of at least the last 5 years, probably the better part of a decade, and that he was not fit to be president for at least the last 2 years of his presidency, and that for potentially that and even longer, the presidency was run by unelected bureaucrats. That we did not have a sitting president in violation of the Constitution, that we did not have a single sovereign elected by the whole of the American people in which is vested all Article 2 executive authority. No, that Article 2 executive authority was wielded by unelected bureaucrats using an auto pen. Now, let's dive into this because this is absolutely amazing. Let's dive in because here I want to show that just so everybody knows what my feelings on Tapper. Here's Tapper absolutely trying to destroy Laura Trump when she brought up Biden's cognition. This is what proved to me, I mean, there's a bunch of other things, but this was the nail in the coffin. Jake Tapper was in on the fix. He's just now trying to make money off the fact that he knew all along what Biden really was.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You are
to watch somebody on stage search for
That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering,
mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
See that Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe.
He absolutely cuts the conversation off. He 100% weighs in. He doesn't stick his finger on the scales of justice. In this case, not really justice, but he doesn't stick his finger on it. He jumps wholeheartedly onto the Democrat platform. Joe Biden is just fine. Joe Biden is just fine. How dare you? How dare you criticize, call into question the fact that Joe Biden can't find his way off a stage, can't speak, can't finish sentences, can't stay awake, can't do anything. Completely slurs and stutters his speech. This is because this is not a diagnosis. This is the entire world looking and going, that dude has something, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, something, but he's not normal. He's not capable. This was when Jake Tapper absolutely jumped wholeheartedly into the cover-up game. He is now in the anti-cover-up game because it's making him money. This is how he made his money before, and now he's making money the opposite way. By completely disclosing all of this that he knew from the get-go. Now, come to find out, based on Tapper's book, and now everything is coming out, the fact that Joe Biden was not running the country for the last couple years. Check this out, because here's where he talks about the fact that Hunter Biden, crackhead Hunter Biden, was essentially the the chief of staff. This is just absolutely amazing stuff. This is why this story is never going to go away. It's going to continue to metastasize. It's going to get even worse.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow, and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too. Really,
a real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
How big a
Hunter's driving the family car. Hunter was essentially chief of staff. Hunter was helping to make governmental decisions. I mean, this is just absolutely mind-boggling that they not only let this happen, they facilitated it. They caused it to happen. Their thirst for power in the inner circle among the Jill Bidens, the Hunter Bidens, the inner circle of Biden associates were so hungry for power and to wield it that they were willing to abuse an old man. They were willing to trash the Constitution in order to wield power and, in effect, destroy the very country which had given them wealth and privilege. Now, here's undercover. We've got Project Veritas confirming all this with Hunter Biden. This is absolutely amazing bombshell stuff.
Question for me is like, how corrupt is the DNC if so many people knew, or few people knew about Biden, well, the president of the United States?
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the DNC is always going to be like a campaign arm of the president, ultimately. The bigger issue was like the inner circle that was around Biden. That's it.
And I can't stress to you enough.
Like Joe Biden's chief of staff, like had an enormous amount of power.
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden's chief of staff.
That was like an open secret at the White House. Like, I would avoid him. Like, he was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Bourdain.
I've never seen him.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
He's like a shadowy, like, Wizard of Oz type figure. That's what made him so, like, I knew how he looked, but I'm like, the general public wouldn't know how this man looked. But he wielded an enormous amount of power, and I can't stress to you how much power he had at the White House.
They were wielding power without presidential authority. They should have 25th Amendment Joe Biden because Joe Biden was not capable of running the country. Not because, I mean, despite my dislike for Joe Biden, we should have had a functioning president that was elected by the people. As bad as it would have been, it should have been Kamala Harris because she was vice president. As inept and corrupt and incompetent as she would have been, she would have at least been somewhat accountable to the people. But no, she was in on the fix as well. They basically hid Joe Biden in a closet while Hunter Biden, Jill Biden, and a group of about 5 inner circle associates coming to find out that it was Bernal, it was the other chief of staff, it was Blinken and others making all of the decisions. This is absolutely unconstitutional. And the American public waking up to this, the Democrats are sinking in the polls and Trump is rising. This is going to, and I hope, this is not only hopeful thinking, but it's prediction, it is going to destroy them in the midterms because the American people do not trust, not just Joe Biden, they no longer trust the Democrat brand. The Democrat brand has been tarnished by their 100% standing with 20% issues. LGBTQ, woke, illegal aliens, against deportations, all of this stuff, everything that the American public voted for, the Democrats are standing against. They're standing on the 20% versus 80%. And now you've got mass swaths of Democrats themselves and independents saying, I cannot trust the Democrat Party. They are corrupt, 100% corrupt. Now here's here's basically a Fox report talking about the fact that they wanted Biden to stay in office because he was an empty vessel. They knew they could manipulate this whole situation. Here we go. And while I'm pulling this up, thanks so much for joining me here on Courageous Media. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. Hey, I may not be a doctor. I may not be able to tell you if Biden had Alzheimer's or early onset dementia or Parkinson's or anything, but I can tell you that he couldn't find his way off a stage. He fell up the stairs, not just down the stairs. He shook hands with the air. He slurred his speech, couldn't finish sentences. The man was utterly incompetent. Here we go.
They wanted Joe Biden to stay in office because he was an empty vessel. They were allowed to push through whatever they wanted. We still have no answers about who was actually making these decisions. We don't even have a lot of information still on the day that he dropped out and posted his resignation letter for the campaign on Twitter. We don't have very much information about that. So this is about a lack of trust. And for Jake Tapper to come out now and say, oh, well, the White House was lying. Well, so were you. And CNN covered a presidential election. And you don't think that it was pertinent to the American people and important for them to know about all of these details? And now all of a sudden that these anonymous sources and people are willing to talk about it, they want a pat on the back for saying what was obvious. We have more details now, but this was happening. And for now them to say the doctor was recommending there may need to be a wheelchair for the second term. Let's not forget they never made the White House doctor available for questioning, not a single time.
Do you think there will be a congressional hearing?
I do. I think there will be.
There needs to be a congressional hearing. They need to haul every single one of these aides and staffers in front of Congress, depose them under oath, and get to the bottom of this. And there need to be prosecutions. It can't just stop with a congressional hearing. It needs to go from a congressional hearing to a criminal referral to the DOJ from Congress, and then the DOJ needs to pick it up, and Bondi needs to make sure there's accountability. Now, here's Lindy Lee, who's a former fundraiser, talking about the fact that everybody knew Biden was no longer capable of executing the job.
Time tonight.
Natasha, thank you for having me.
And I know you take this seriously. You personally know President Biden. What is your reaction to this report?
It's just further confirmation for what we've known for years. And I tried to sound the alarm in July, and I was attacked then. So there's definitely an echo chamber on this matter and a closing of ranks. People don't want to hear the truth, and it's extremely devastating. It's devastating in so many regards, because President Biden as a human being is no longer capable of executing the duties of the commander-in-chief. And also, we kind of have a shadow presidency of his inner circle of people. Well, I don't want to get crucified again, but there are certain people around him, his senior advisors, who are essentially running the country.
There it is. His senior advisors are essentially running the country. From there, we dive into this, because this was a phenomenal report on CNN. The question, this is absolutely amazing. So here's CNN admitting the quiet part out loud.
I think the degree to which the team around President Biden was hiding him and sequestering him, mainly starting in the fall of 2023, cannot be overstated. There's a cabinet meeting in October 2023, and then several cabinet members told us for the book they never saw him again in person for months and months and months. He was kept away from them, and cabinet secretaries we spoke to for the book told us it was weird. One of them did have a meeting with Biden in between that last cabinet meeting of 2023 in October and the debate, and described him as being disoriented and out of it. And I think the degree to which he was being hidden from even their own administration cannot be overstated.
Which begs the question, who was the president? And now we're finding out from Tapper's book that it was an inner circle of about 5 people, including Hunter and Jill, Jill's chief of staff, Biden's chief of staff, Blinken, and others. The country was being run by unelected bureaucrats, unelected family members. This is the biggest scandal, and there need to be prosecutions. Biden was not president. If you remember, when Mike Johnson went in, Mike Johnson blew the whistle, albeit later than he should have. He should have done this the very moment he met with him. Talked about the fact that the president, Joe Biden, did not even know about an executive order he had signed on liquid natural gas. He didn't even know about the order or what it said, or the fact that he had signed it. Johnson had to tell him, no, you signed it, and this is what it said. Well, no, I never signed that. I never signed that. Oh, wait a minute, you're talking about liquid natural gas? Well, wait a minute, there was this order, but it said something completely different. No, they were not, he was not running the country. Unelected bureaucrats were, and they need to be hauled in front of Congress. They need to be deposed. It needs to be all public every night. They need to put on a spectacle. for the entire world to see with every one of these staffers and family members. Now, the family members are currently covered by a pardon. That's a topic for a whole different show, but those pardons need to be looked at, certainly. But regardless, the staffers are not covered by pardons, and the family members should be forced to say everything under oath because they are currently covered by a pardon. But either way, haul them in front of Congress, depose them all out in the open, and then make criminal referrals. But either way, this is going to destroy the Democrats because the American public no longer trusts them as far as they can throw a train. And I can't throw a train very far. I work out every day, but if I can't do it. I can't throw a Buick very far either. But the people no longer trust the Democrat Party, and they are only sinking farther the more they try to cover this up or gloss it over. Hey, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. This is Courageous Media. We're trying to get our channel back. Thanks so much for being here. Please let everybody that you know, please share this with everybody that you know. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Until I catch you next time. Thanks so much.